Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking through some player props I like on Prizepicks for the Week 3 NFL slate. We're going to break down the full slate of games for Sunday, give you guys 3 props I'm liking for the Sunday games, and as always, we're going to break down these plays and share why I like them. Now, before we do get started guys, make sure that you hit that like button down below. If you enjoy these Prizepicks videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And if you guys are new to the channel, if you are new to Prizepicks, if you don't have a Prizepicks account, make sure that you go sign up. Use that promo code NOAH. When you do sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code and play $5, you're going to get $50 worth of free lineups instantly added to your account. So, just for signing up, putting in $5, playing that $5 lineup, Prizepicks is going to give you $50 of free lineups. Again, make sure that you sign up and use that code NOAH. And then also, I do want to say that Prizepicks does have a free square once again this week. For Week 3, they have Patrick Mahomes pass yards set at 0.5. So this is a free pick available to everyone. If you're a new user, you can get this. If you already have a Prizepicks account, this is available to you as well. But anytime Prizepicks runs these type of promotions, discounts, I want to promote them to you guys because it's easy ways to make money, and I'm trying to help you guys make some money. So definitely use that free square while it's still available. It's still available, until Sunday Night Football, because that's when the Chiefs-Giants game starts, is Sunday night. So you got plenty of time to get that in, but definitely take that free square while it is still available. And then also I do want to give a quick shout out to Sleeper because we are partnered up with Sleeper as well. You guys can go download the Sleeper app. Use promo code NOAH over there. You'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. So whatever you put in, Sleeper will match up to $100. If you want to sign up, deposit $100. They'll give you an additional $100 to play with. So now you got a $200 bankroll to work with. You can start to try and build up that bankroll over on Sleeper. But if you guys don't know what Sleeper is, they're a DFS pick'em app. They're very similar to Prizepicks. They're very similar to all the other DFS pick'em apps that you see around the industry. You just build out your lineup. You pick more or less on player projections. You can make up to an 8-pick lineup. You can win up to 100 extra money. You can mix and match sports as well. So definitely go try out Sleeper, guys. And again, if you don't have an account over there, use that promo code NOAH when you do sign up. But yeah, guys, week 3 of the NFL season is here. Let's talk through some props I'm liking for this Sunday slate. Now, I do want to recap our plays from our last video, from last Sunday. We did go 3-0 on the 3 picks that we gave out last Sunday, so hopefully you guys did tail. Also went 2-0 on Monday Night Football. Unfortunately, we went 1-1 on Thursday Night Football this past week for Week 3, excuse me. It was tough because we had Tua's over fantasy points, and Tua threw a pick like late in the game that put him under his fantasy. And then he had a chance to go over late in the game, but there was like that. I'm sure you guys saw the last play of the game. They ruled that as a rush when it was like it looked like a backwards pass. It's really hard to tell either way. Tua threw the ball to a receiver on the outside. They ruled it as a backwards pass, so it didn't count as a pass attempt, so he didn't get the pass yards for that. I don't think it would have mattered in terms of his fantasy score, but I did tell people to take his over on pass attempts, and that line was at 34.5, and because they ruled that last play as a rush, he didn't go over his pass attempts. He had 34 pass attempts, so that was really frustrating. Felt like we should have had both those plays, to his fantasy score and his pass attempts. Both those were looking pretty good until that last drive when he threw that pick. But we'll see if we can get back out of here for Sunday, guys. Went 3-0 last Sunday, so let's try and go 3-0 again this Sunday. So the first prop that I'm liking for Sunday is going to be a targets prop. So targets props I really like to look at on Prizepicks because these are props that you don't really get a lot of data on. Like sportsbooks don't really have, most sportsbooks don't offer targets props. Really, the only place you can find these are on the DFS apps. So anytime there's lines like these, fantasy score, targets, these kind of niche markets, there's always going to be an edge. And the prop that I do like, the targets prop that I do like for Sunday is A.J. Brown for more than 6.5 targets. Now, if we look at A.J. Brown this season, he has only gone over this line once. Went over week 1, last week had 8 targets, and then week 1 against Dallas in their kickoff game, he only had 1 target in that game. But after that game, the Eagles came out and said that they wanted to get A.J. Brown more involved the following week, and then go figure, he gets 8 targets the next week. A.J. Brown has historically been a good target earner in this Eagles offense. Now, the one problem with the Eagles is that they don't throw the ball really at all. They have the lowest pass rate in the league. They're definitely a run-first team. But in certain game scripts, especially when they get behind, you can see them be a little bit more pass-heavy. So far this season, they have not thrown the ball much at all. You look at Jalen Hurts' pass attempts through the first 2 games. He's only had 23 and 22 pass attempts. Hurts has, and Hurts has only thrown for 152 yards and 101 yards. It's honestly impressive that Hurts is not doing as much as he is as a passer, and the Eagles are still winning games. Like, that just shows you how good their team is. But like, if you look at Hurts' pass attempts line for this week, his line for pass attempts is set at 26.5. Even though the last 2 games he's only had 22 and 23 pass attempts. So clearly the sportsbooks are expecting more pass attempts for Jalen Hurts here. And if Jalen Hurts has at least 25, 26 pass attempts, I think there's a pretty good chance that you're going to see 7 targets for AJ Brown. I mean, since AJ Brown has joined the Eagles in 2021, in 2022 he averaged 8.5 targets per game. In 2023, the following year, he averaged 9.2 targets per game. Last year with the Eagles, he averaged nearly 7.5 targets per game. And then so far this season, he's only averaged 4.5 targets per game. But again, I think that's just kind of small sample. The Eagles have had very low, pass volume games to start the season. This could definitely be the game where we see that pass volume spike up a little bit. And even if, they only have 23, 24 pass attempts, even if it's another low pass attempt game for Jalen Hurts, I mean, we saw last week, even on just 22 pass attempts, 8 of those 22 attempts went to A.J. Brown. I know they were without Dallas Goedert last week. Dallas Goedert is going to be back this week, but we should still expect A.J. Brown to lead this team in targets most weeks. He's led the team in targets throughout, since he's joined the Eagles. He's been the highest target earner on this offense. And this Eagles team, they kind of condensed their target share. Like, the 3 guys that get all the targets in this offense are A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. You'll maybe see a couple targets for Saquon. You'll maybe see a couple targets for Jahan Dotson. But other than that, they don't really involve many other receivers. They don't really throw to any other tight ends besides Dallas Goedert. So this should definitely be a spot where A.J. Brown can get us 7 targets here. I mean, if you look at his receptions prop for Sunday, I think he's got a 4.5 receptions prop. A.J. Brown does. And if he gets, over 4.5 receptions, his receptions line was at 4.5. It looks like it got took off the board. But if he gets 4 or 5 receptions, I think he's got a pretty good chance at 7 targets. So I do like that as our first prop for Sunday. AJ Brown more than 6.5 targets. Now, next prop that we're going to take is going to be on Tyrod Taylor. It's going to be a fantasy score. I like Tyrod for more than 13 fantasy scores. So Tyrod's going to be getting the start this week. In place of Justin Fields. Justin Fields injured, not playing this week, so it's going to be Tyrod getting the start. And Tyrod is a veteran quarterback. He's been in the NFL for I don't know how long, for probably a lot of years. He's been on multiple different teams. He was on the Giants. He's on the Jets now. He was on I want to say he was on the Bills at one point. He was on the Bills. He was on the Browns. He was on the Chargers. He was on the Texans. He's been all over the place. But he's definitely a quarterback that has a lot of experience. And this is a really good matchup for him going up against the Bucs. The Bucs have historically been a really good matchup for opposing quarterbacks. You look last season, the Bucs were top 5 in fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks. So far this season, it's a small sample, but the Bucs are top 10 in fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks to start the season. The Bucs have been a really good matchup for opposing quarterbacks. And Tyrod Taylor, he obviously, he's not the most flashy quarterback. He's, a veteran. He's a backup. I'm not saying Tyrod Taylor's a great quarterback, but for fantasy, he can be valuable because he is mobile. He does run. You can see he has a rush yards prop set at 22.5, so he can scramble. And anytime you get quarterbacks that can run, that just makes them so much more valuable for fantasy because not only can they get you points as a passer, but they can also get you points as a runner. And if you just look at where Tyrod's projections are set at for Sunday, his pass yards prop is set at close to 200 yards. So if he throws for close to 200 yards, that's going to be about 8 fantasy points. He has a 22.5 rush yards prop, so let's say he runs for 20 yards. That's going to be an additional 2 points. And then he's heavily favored to throw 1 touchdown. His passing touchdowns prop is a goblin. If he throws 1 touchdown, that's an additional 4 fantasy points. So you give him about 200 pass yards, 20 rush yards, and 1 touchdown, that's going to be about 14 fantasy points. Now, sure, there's a chance that he throws an interception and loses a point. That's a possibility, but given the matchup here, given how good, it's been to face Tampa Bay been a great matchup for opposing quarterbacks. I think this sets up as a really good spot for Tyrod Taylor to be able to have success from a fantasy perspective, using his legs, to his advantage, but also as a passer. This should be a matchup where he has success as a passer, and he's got weapons in this Jets offense. Breece Hall out of the backfield. He's still got Garrett Wilson, who's top receiver in the NFL. Garrett Wilson's been really good ever since he's gotten into the NFL. I'm not expecting the Jets to go out there and put up a shit ton of points, but I think they do enough where Tyrod goes over 13 fantasy points. And if you just kind of look around the industry, you look at where other sites have Tyrod projected. Like I looked at Underdog, they have their line on Tyrod set at like 15.45, I think is what I saw. So it seems like Prizepicks definitely has the lowest fantasy projection of all the sites on Tyrod Taylor. So I definitely want to grab his line at 13. I think this line is a couple points too low. That's going to be our second prop for Sunday. And then our last prop is going to be on Keenan Allen. We're going to look at another fantasy score line here, and I'm liking Keenan Allen for more than 11.5 fantasy score. Now, Keenan Allen back with the Chargers this season. He's been with the Chargers previously, but then he went to the Bears last year, and now he's back on the Chargers. And he's been really good with the Chargers so far this season. Now, it's only been 2 games, so we don't want to overreact to a 2-game sample. But if you look at their first 2 games this season, 7 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown on 10 targets. And then last week against the Raiders, 5 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown on 7 targets. Keenan Allen, when he was on the Chargers, he was a really good fantasy wide receiver. Like he was high target volume. He was a high target receiver. Now, this was obviously before they had Ladd McConkey, so things were different back then. It was him and Mike Williams. But Keenan Allen was a guy that consistently was getting like 7, 8, 9 targets a game when he was on the Chargers. People, honestly, I was not expecting Keenan Allen to be this good with the Chargers. I was expecting him to kind of be a little bit washed up. But man, Keenan Allen's looked really good. He's been able to get open. He's been able to create separation. And I thought, playing alongside Ladd McConkey, playing alongside Quentin Johnson, he wasn't going to be that same high-volume target receiver. But through their first 2 games, he's got 17 targets. So he's been earning targets at a really high rate. And I think the matchup here against Denver is not the worst for Keenan Allen. So Keenan Allen typically plays a lot out of the slot. That's where he runs a good amount of his routes. And I'm assuming Patrick Surtain, I don't know if he'll shadow in this matchup or if he'll just play strictly on the outside. But if Patrick Surtain strictly plays on the outside, then he's most likely going to line up against Quentin Johnson because Quentin Johnson mainly plays on the outside. So I think playing out of the slot where Keenan Allen does run a decent amount of routes should be decent for him. Denver, they are a very good defense. Coming into the season, Denver was expected to have one of the better defenses. So I don't think the matchup overall is it's not a perfect matchup for Keenan Allen, but I don't think it's the worst matchup either. You see the spot against Denver, you think really tough spot, but I think Quentin Johnson's probably the guy that runs into the toughest matchup here, especially if he's going to be on the outside where Patrick Surtain is. So I think this is a decent enough matchup for Keenan Allen. Just think the fantasy score line, though, is definitely too low on him. I mean, you look at where his projections are set at. He's got a 58.5 receiving yards prop. His receptions prop is set at 5. If he has 5 catches for 58 yards, that's 10.8 fantasy points. I mean, that nearly puts him over this line alone, and that's without factoring in his potential to score a touchdown. I mean, so far this season, he scored a touchdown in both of their games. Wouldn't be surprised if he finds the end zone again here. But I like how Keenan Allen, as a receiver, he is a guy that can rack up a lot of receptions. He can have games where he gets like 6, 7, 8 receptions. So far this season, he's had 7 and 5 receptions. And with Prizepicks fantasy score being full PPR, getting a point per reception is super valuable. Anytime you can have receivers that can catch like 6 or 7, 8 passes, that's going to make them super valuable for fantasy score. And Keenan Allen is a guy that can do that. So definitely like this fantasy score line on Keenan Allen. I think this line is also a couple points too low. And another thing that I was looking at this year with the Chargers have really upped their pass rate. Like if you look at this season compared to last season, ever since they got Jim Harbaugh, the Chargers were not a team that really threw the ball much. But this season, the Chargers have been throwing the ball a lot more. I think they're top 10 in overall pass rate this year, the Chargers are. And if you look at their pass rate in the red zone, they have one of the highest pass rates in the red zone. So when they get in scoring position, they're throwing the ball a lot, which is kind of surprising. You would think, you get in scoring position, you want to try and run the ball in, but the Chargers, when they get in the red zone, when they get in scoring position, they've been throwing the ball a ton. And obviously, if they continue to do that, that's going to make Keenan Allen's touchdown potential even higher if they're going to throw the ball as much as they have in the red zone. So yeah, I do like these 3 plays here for Sunday, guys. A.J. Brown, more than 6.5 targets. Tyrod Taylor, more than 13 fantasy score. And Keenan Allen, more than 11.5 fantasy score. Got 3 plays for Sunday, and let's try and go 3-0 here and hit all 3 of these plays. But as always, guys, appreciate you watching, appreciate your support on these Prizepicks videos. Make sure that before you do get out of here, you hit that like button down below for me, hit that subscribe button as well. And if you guys are new to the channel, and if you are new to Prizepicks, if you don't have a Prizepicks account, make sure that you go sign up, use that promo code NOAH. Again, when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code, play $5, you're going to get $50 worth of free lineups instantly added to your account. Also, make sure to use that Patrick Mahomes free square. As you can see on the screen, 0.5 pass yards for Mahomes. Definitely take that while it's still available. But yeah, good luck this Sunday, guys. Let's make some money, and I'll see you guys in the next video.